Welcome to A Chef's Grimoire, Spring. Today we'll be working with the Wheel of Fortune. As with all the videos in this series, we start with the Major Arcana page. And we have an amazing menu planned for the Wheel of Fortune, so please stay tuned for that. If you want to fast forward, there's timestamps that I put into the description, so you can go ahead and fast forward to the cooking section. But to know why we're cooking the meals we are, why I chose those recipes, it is worth understanding the symbolism in the card. So to that, we are going to figure out where we are in the series. We started with the Fool, and the Fool is numbered 0 for those that have not tuned in up until now. The reason the Fool is here is because they're going on a journey, and the journey involves all the rest of the Major Arcana. The Major Arcanas are separated into 3 categories. There's the conscious, the subconscious, and the superconscious. So today we're on the second line of the subconscious, and we'll be talking about the Wheel of Fortune. So let's go to that page now. The beautiful Wheel of Fortune. This depiction here is from the Rider-Waite Smith deck, and then I just added some embellishments to my understanding of the card. Let's begin by reading the continuing story of the Fool's journey. As the Fool starts the descent down the mountain back to civilization, they reminisce on conversations with the hermit. If only I could lift the veil, just as the high priestess and the hermit can. I feel as though every time I take a step forward, I also take 2 steps back. Although the hermit is inspiration for knowing when to retreat, what circumstances in my life need that course of action? The hermit is wise and lives a humble life away from the distractions of society. But that life is not mine. I will do my best to fit in. I'll find purpose to make a difference in the day-to-day, as well as be inspiration to those around me. With new determination, the Fool lifts their head as the afternoon sun breaks through the clouds. They see tents in the distance. The tents are red and white, and there are sounds of people ringing bells, shouts, laughter, which grow louder as the Fool approaches. Step right up, says a man in a top hat near a table with 3 cards on it. Find the card in the shuffle and win a big prize. Across from him is another person shouting, turn the Wheel of Fortune and determine your fate. There are Ferris wheels, bumper cars, elephants, strong men, mirrors, and flashing lights. It's a bevy of controlled chaos, and the Fool's heart begins to race. Everything is so exciting. I want to experience it all. The Fool heads towards the wheel and decides to take a chance. Round and round, spinning with a repetitive clacking noise, the wheel lands on a number. You lost. Pay up, says the barker. Digging into their pockets, the Fool realizes they have no money to pay. The barker gestures to 2 policemen standing nearby. They approach, and without any words, take each arm and escort the Fool to the nearby prison. This is not your lucky day, says one of the policemen. What kind of fool are you to think that you get a free ride in life? The cell door slams shut, and the police walk away talking. I heard they were just with that old crazy beggar who lives on the mountain. No surprise they think they can steal and get away with it. Yes, said the other policeman. Lady Justice will determine their fate in the morning. The cell is cold, and there's the barest ray of sunlight through the barred window on the stone floor. The musty smell of dampness permeates the air. overwhelmed, overstimulated, and confused, the Fool prepares for a very long night. This card has a lot of symbolism, so we're going to go through from the center outward. I think that that's the easiest way to include everything that's in this card. So we're going to start with what the signification of the Wheel of Fortune is. Change in cycles. So the wheel of the year, the zodiacal wheel, they're all wheels and they all signify change. If we're looking at the wheel of the year, you have the wheel turning according to the seasons of the earth. The zodiacal wheel, in the same fashion. You start with Aries, which is in spring, and then you go counterclockwise around the wheel until you reach Aries again. So it's just everything is a cyclical force that is in the shape of the wheel. The major meaning of this card or the wheel is making a choice to break that cycle. Not easy, and it takes a lot of understanding and knowledge, which we'll get to now. So the background of the wheel itself comes from the Roman goddess Fortuna. She was, in Roman times, known as the Lady of Fortune and Luck, hence the reason we still use, to this day, words to describe good fortune. There are songs about it. You could go the gamut, but Lady Luck. Roll the dice, Lady Luck. Is Lady Luck on my side? Luck be a lady tonight. Yeah, it all goes back to the good old wheel. There's a saying that says, you get to the top of the wheel not by office, but in office by virtue of the holder. Lady Luck is often, especially in the old cards, she's depicted with a blindfold. And we'll see that again with Justice, which is the next card after the wheel. The blindfold represents non-discriminatory. If you're blindfolded, you can't see race, color, whether they're a beggar or a prince. It doesn't matter. Everyone goes around the wheel. The astrology for this card is Aquarius is the ruler, and Jupiter is the planet. Jupiter is the astrological planet that's known for luck and fortune. And the element is fire, which totally makes sense. We all want that fire, that spark, that propels us to a higher way of being. So getting to the symbolism, we have the wheel here, and we'll start with the center of the wheel. First of all, the wheel is orange. Orange is a color of happiness. A lot of fast food restaurants always have those orange plastic seats that you sit on. It's supposed to make you happy and give you a sense of cheerfulness. So interesting that the color of the wheel is orange. In the center, there's 8 spokes. 1, 2, 3, 4, and each one has a spoke. So the 8 spokes are representation of the 8-pointed star, which represents purity, strength, protection. It also reminds us that things are connected, all things are connected, and we must strive for balance in our lives. Also, there's 8 phases of the moon, which again, the moon rotates in cycles. So everything about this card goes back to cycles. Also, if you're looking at the wheel without the crease in the page, I did put it in the center of 2 pages. Without the crease, the first 2 spokes that really stand out are the X in the center. And that X is for the number of the card, which is 10. And in Roman numeral, there it is, 10. It looks like the X, which then goes into spokes of a wheel, which if you did a circle around this would look like a wheel. We also have the alchemical symbols in the center of the wheel. There's Mercury, which also is the element of air, sulfur, which is the element of fire, water, obviously the element of water, and salt, which is the element of earth. These are known as the essentials for life. You can't have life without these 4 elements. Now we're going to take a look at the outer ring of the wheel, and we've got letters there. Some are in English, some are in Hebrew. So if you start with the direction of north, east, south, and west, it spells Torah, T-O-R-A. So if the wheel is going this way, which is clockwise, then you're in a learning stage. Torah is all about knowledge and learning. It's the book of teaching. If you're going counterclockwise, your letters are T-A-R-O, tarot. And tarot is the understanding of the meaning of life. It's divination. It's putting the knowledge of the Torah into fruition. Also, if you take the wheel and you look at it in a different way, you have R-O-T-A. And rota, R-O-T-A, rota, is the Roman word for wheel. So all those 3 words can be read as the wheel of teaching. We also can do some other words within this outer ring of the wheel. There's arot, A-R-O-T, A-R-O-T, and that means cultivate or grow. Orat, O-R-A-T, which means speak or plead. And Ator, A-T-O-R, which is another way of saying Hathor, which is the goddess of love. So the wheel is speaking about cultivating your love. Combining all of those words, every single word we got through just this outer ring, the wheel is pleading the law of Hathor, which is love, and brings order by asking us to learn the natural laws, or the laws of nature. On the wheel itself, there are 3 creatures. One, at the top, is a blue sphinx. Now, we remember the sphinxes from the Chariot card. Those were the 2 creatures in the Rider-Waite-Smith deck that were pulling or in front of the very stationary chariot. We went into a little bit of what they symbolize, but here on top of the wheel, in older decks, many times we have the goddess Fortuna that is depicted in the cards. More modern day cards, or starting with this deck, the Rider-Waite-Smith deck, which is from 1909, Fortuna has been left out and replaced by a sphinx. So the sphinx itself, replacing Fortuna, is a symbol of wisdom, equilibrium. And in being blue, it represents the fluidic universe. Blue is also the color of Jupiter, which is the planet of good luck and fortune. But the fluidic universe is, again, true to the wheel, fluid. Blue meaning water in the elements, And so fluidity is all about the wheel cycling and cycling and cycling, and we must be able to go through those cycles. The Sphinx is also holding a double-edged sword, and the sword is a symbol for air or mental clarity. And Sphinxes are known for asking riddles that you must answer, and you must have a clear mind to answer them. So it's the riddles of the universe. And when you're at the top, you know the answers. Descending the wheel on this side, we have the snake, which is the snake's name is Typhon. And it's a deity of evil and destruction, but it's also a symbol of wisdom. So think of the snake that was on the apple tree or near the apple tree in the Garden of Eden. That was this snake. And it was the destruction of Eden, basically, because of the fact that it persuaded Eve to eat the apple when she knew she was not supposed to. So this is Typhon, and he's descending down into the underworld. Ascending, or going upwards to the top of the wheel, is Anubis. He's pictured in red. Red is the root chakra. Red is fire. Red is, that spark that we want to bring us to the next level. And he's an interesting character. Anubis is one of the manifestations of the god Hermes, and he was basically brought to be a protector of the graves and escort lost souls or any soul to the afterlife. But there was a way that he did that. He took the heart of the soul and weighed it on a scale. And if the heart was lighter than a feather, that soul crossed over, and Anubis would escort the soul to the higher realms or the afterlife. If the heart sank, then Anubis would basically transport that soul to Typhon, who would bring them to the underworld. So ascending, descending, round and round we go. Now on the outside of the wheel, we have 4 golden figures in clouds. And what does that mean? These are the 4 fixed signs of the zodiac. So we have the eagle, which is another symbol for Scorpio. I know the scorpion is a symbol, the most well-known, but an eagle is also a symbol for the zodiacal sign of Scorpio. The eagle represents creative investigation. They can see everything. They're eagle-eyed. And their symbol is water. We have the angel. The angel is representative of the astrological sign Aquarius. And Aquarius is humanitarianism. And their symbol is air. Down here we have the lion. It looks like a lioness, but it's the lion. The lion is Leo. And lions are all about bravery and, puffing up their feathers and being the show of the party. And their element is fire. Lastly, we have the bull. The bull is representative of Taurus, the astrological sign of Taurus, which represents necessary materials in this life, and its element is earth. Now, all of these 4 astrological signs and or 4 elements have wings, and the wings represent stability among change. So the wheel is going to go around whether you like it or not, and you need to be stable to know how to proceed in good times and in bad. Also, the four creatures here are holding white books. Just in them holding the books is an indication of study and knowing that there's duality. So like the ups and the downs, there's duality, and you have to choose the path that you want to be on. The books may also symbolize the Akashic records. Akashic records are books of our soul. So you can go into the Akashic records and you can learn everything your higher self knows in order to change your circumstances in life. The white books also symbolize ether because they're white. Ether or pure spirit, again, being a symbolic thread to our higher selves. So going back to the color blue, blue sphinx we talked about a little bit, but the background is all blue as well. And the blue background is a transition to higher consciousness, self-expression, awareness, realization of the knowledge that you've gained. Blue is very, as we talked about here, fluid. So the fluidity and the intuition is all around the wheel. So the learnedness is here, and the way to learn it is here. Now there's clouds also amongst these four characters and around the wheel. So the clouds are the veil. So it would be wonderful in life if we just asked a higher question like, why am I here? What's my purpose? And all of a sudden that is just handed to you on the plate, the answer. But it's not, because there's a veil in front of it. There is a very thin veil that covers all of those higher meaning questions. And it's for us to figure out how to lift the veil. Just as what the Fool was talking about in their journey, they said that the High Priestess and the Hermit could both lift that veil. And how did they do that? Well, the High Priestess through higher learning, her intuition, and the Hermit just by being outside of civilization, in his own mind, in his own thoughts, and through that, and in that very separated space, they can see the light. They're so focused. They are laser focused. So that's what the clouds symbolize. They're the veil. And you can see the creatures are sitting on these clouds, which means they've already bypassed the veil. They're above the veil. And we need to have those clouds pass or leave to have the clarity of mind to understand the knowledge of the wheel. Now, I saved the best for last, in my opinion. We're going to talk about the number 10. A little numerology. 10 is the number of perfection, right? We all want a 10 when we go to the Olympics. It's nailing that end pose. In our society, it's everything. Everybody wants to achieve the 10. And what is the 10? Well, it's a number of perfection. It's a completion of a cycle. And at the same time, even though you're completing something by getting to that highest plane of all, you're actually in a transition to start something new, to start a beginning. Now, there's many ways to get to the 10. There's 1 plus 0, which 1 is your alchemy. Remember, 1 was numbered for the magician. It's alchemy and bringing ether into tangibility. So it's your thoughts finally going into action. 0 is source. 0, like numbered on the Fool, is your higher self, God, source. So bringing alchemy with the magic of source, you get 10. There's also 4 and 6. 4, as we know with the Emperor, is all about stability. And 6 is harmony. 6 was the Lovers. It's all about harmony and starting relationships. So having to understand yourself in order and love yourself in order to give love to others. So stability, harmony equals 10. 7 plus 3. 7, we're learning something new. So that was the Chariot. It was all about fire under his thoughts, under his actions. He hasn't taken the steps yet because the Chariot was very stagnant, but he wants to learn something new. He's ready to start that new chapter or to start again. It's a course correction. 7. Always eager to learn something new. And 3 is optimism, right? 3 is the Empress. She's all about planting the seeds. And what do? Whenever we plant seeds, we're extremely optimistic that it's going to grow to its greatest potential, whatever that seed is. Great optimism in learning something new. 10. 5 plus 5. 5 is a number of contradictions. It's a number of opposing forces and conflict. So now we're talking about, of course, we talked about all those numbers adding up to ascending to the 10, but there's also descending, right? So if your mind is constantly in a contradictory state, constantly in conflict, then 5 plus 5 also equals 10, but it's heading you downward versus bringing you upward. Now, that said, there's always good types of conflict. There's, if you have to stand up for yourself, you have to know your values, know who you are and what you want to fight for. So those things are positive, but if you're constantly in a state of that, it means demise. And lastly, there's 1 plus 9. 1, again, going back to the bringing of alchemy to tangibility, the beginning of a cycle. And 9 is the last number before 10, which is the ending of a cycle, so that you can start anew. Now, the last thing I wanted to do on this page was make it look very festive. It's full of color. The wheel going round and round. All I can hear is the sights and sounds of a street fair or a festival. And you have, just like in this story, you have the gamers that are, or the barkers that are telling you, oh, come take a chance. Oh, you'll win a big prize. Oh, put your luck in our hands and we'll make sure you come out a winner. You get the smells of all those glorious deep fried foods and, lots of sugar and candy, and everybody's happy. It's a wonderful environment to be in, to thrive in. So I put the fun circus tents in the page with a lot of bling. You also can think of casinos, right? It's the same thing. The wheel is all a game. I know we just talked about the very significant meaning of everything in the symbolism in the card. But really, when it comes down to it, the wheel is a game. Life is a game, right? And Knowing the real trick to the wheel is understanding that you can have your hand on the wheel. So the wheel just doesn't continually go round and round and you go with it like a hamster on a hamster wheel, going faster and faster but getting nowhere. Instead, if you take everything we just talked about into consideration and put it into your own life, you can have a hand on the wheel. And by doing that, you have a say as to when the wheel brings you up and when the wheel brings you down. And when you are up, you know enough to make good for others. And when you're down, you know enough to ask for help. It's a cycle. Nobody stays on top forever. So now for menu planning for this card. I really wanted to emphasize the whole game part of the wheel. And again, going back to the bling, the circus coming to town in the Fool's story. It's so symbolic of the wheel. So when you go to a street fair or go to a festival and you're hungry, what foods do you eat? You gotta have certain foods, in my opinion. So you gotta have those corn dogs, the kettle corn, and all those things, right? So our menu today is deep fried pickles, corn dogs, sausage and peppers, and caramel apples. Let's spin the wheel and see how we do. This is our mise en place for our pickles. I have a ranch dressing mix and sour cream, delicious dill pickle spears, provolone, and Havarti. I also have wonton wrappers. You're going to dry your pickles off really well. And then you're going to take a wonton wrapper. Now these are 6 by 6 sheets. They're the largest you can find, so do find the largest. You don't want the little 3 by 3s. They won't fit the pickle. And turn it on its side so that it's triangular. Taking a piece of cheese, you're going to wrap the pickle. And then taking the other piece of cheese, you're going to wrap it again. Now I have a little bowl of water set aside. So I'm going to take a little of the water on my finger and I'm going to moisten the edges of the wonton wrapper all around. This is acting as a glue to stick everything together. Put the pickle on the wonton about 1/3 of the way up. Then take the south corner and put it over the pickle. Roll it once, and then you're going to take the east and the west sides of the wonton wrapper and put it on top of the pickle. Enclose the top by just bringing those little corners in, roll it again, and if that little north corner doesn't adhere, take a little more water, moisten it down, and you're good to go. And once all your pickles have been wrapped, you can keep these in the fridge for up to about 2 days before you deep fry them, which is great if you're doing all of these for a party. You want your temperature of the deep fry oil to be between 365 and 375. When you're ready, you're going to carefully place the pickles into the frying liquid. You don't want to do more than, say, 3 or 4 at a time, depending on the size of the pot you're frying in. Now, these are going to cook, they're going to puff up like they are, about 4 to 5 minutes per side. It all depends on when they're golden brown. You could tell Just look around the edges of the pickle, and if you see it turning golden brown, then just flip them. You don't have to worry, you can flip them more than once. When they're ready, you're going to take them out of the oil, and I have a sheet rack with a wire rack inside. That's what I'm putting them on, but you can also just put them onto paper towels. You want to drain off all that grease as much as you can before you put them onto the cooling area. Now, while they're still warm, you're going to cut them. I like cutting them on a bias, just like this. And they're gonna ooze with the cheese, and oh, look at that. Pickles. Pickles with cheese and dip. Here we go. Mmm. Mmm. Wow. These are superior. These are, for so simple, they have so much flavor. They're tart, crisp. This requires the best pickle you could get. If you make your own pickles, even better. They need to have a clean pickle taste. You don't want the chemically, high fructose syrupy stuff they put into the pickle juice. Get a clean pickle. If that requires going to a refrigeration case to get them rather than the shelf, that's what you need to do. Just read the ingredients. You'll know when you have a good pickle. It makes all the difference because it's going to give, the pickle is the flavor. And then from there, you get, of course, the ranch dip, if you're going to dip them in the ranch, and the cheese. Super, super good. Plus, egg rolls. Egg roll wrappers, they're so yummy. I could totally see getting off the carousel and going for one of these. Deep fried, cheesy pickle. How can you go wrong? Our mise en place for the dogs is milk, an egg, sugar, baking powder and salt, yellow cornmeal, and flour. I also have some sticks for the dogs and the dogs themselves. Now, these are an all-beef hot dog, and to skewer them, you're going to take the skewer, hold the dog steady in your hand, and twist the skewer, trying to keep it in center until the tip of it goes to the top of the dog. You can feel it with your thumb when you're there. You're going to do this with all the dogs, and then you're going to set them aside. I have an egg. For half the recipe, I'm only needing half the egg, so I'm going to crack it, put it in a bowl, and whisk it up. Now to the cornmeal and the flour, we're going to add the baking powder, salt, and sugar. Now we're going to build our wet ingredients. To the milk, I'm going to add half of that egg mixture. You're going to eyeball it. Yeah, that looks good. And whisk it up. We're going to also whisk the dry ingredients together. and then add the wet to the dry. You're mixing this until it comes together. Be mindful to get all of the flour at the bottom of the bowl, and then we're going to put it in the fridge for 30 minutes. Now we're making a creamy Dijon honey dip for these dogs. So I'm starting with some mayonnaise, a grainy mustard, hot sauce, this is elective, and honey. Mix that all together. Give it a good taste. Make sure that you don't need more honey, more hot sauce. This is perfect. And we're looking again for a deep fry of 365 to 375. Now, because we chilled the batter, it's going to be easier to put the batter on the dog. The dog also needs to be as dry as possible for the batter to stick. Now, there's no easy way to do this. You're just going to get it on the dog the best way you can. I find that putting it into the bowl and covering it first, then once it's got a first coat, I pick it up and finish off the coating in the air. When ready, pop it into the hot oil carefully. And as you're coating the other dogs, you're going to be mindful to watch the dogs that are in the oil, making sure that they're coming out and being flipped when they're nice and golden brown. When they're all finished, you're going to take them out and put them on a wire rack on a sheet tray and or paper towels to cool. Yum! Corny doggies. Let's try. Tastes just like the state fair. I love going to state fairs. They're so fun, right? Aren't they fun? If you've never been to one, you should go. There's the difference between a state fair and like down the shore on the boardwalk. There's something going on everywhere where the boardwalk is more concise, right? You're walking in one direction. There's things on either side of you. People all around you, great people watching in both places, but I don't know, there's something about a state fair. It just feels like it's more vast, more like it goes on forever. At least at the beach, you could get off and go on to the beach and be by the water for a little bit for solitude, but I don't know, a state fair is all encompassing. But corn dogs are good in either place. The crunch is really nice. The inside is very tender. And the dog, again, like the pickle, get a good all beef hot dog. Or you're making them at home, so you could do a turkey dog as well. Or even a vegan dog. Why not, right? They make vegan or vegetarian hot dogs these days. So there you go. Delicious. So what I did with the leftover batter was I just put it in a muffin cup and I put the hot dogs in it. So this is an alternative to if you don't want to fry them. You can make corn dog biscuits or corn dog muffins, right? And you can dip them in the same sauce. Let's see. I tore it in half. Let me try it. Oh no. There we go. Yeah. You don't get the crisp crunch on the outside, but the flavor is exactly the same. Healthy alternative. We're going to start by taking a fork and docking the sausages. You're going to pierce through the skin and then pop your sausages into the oven. I find 400 for 20 minutes is perfect. While that's happening, we're going to work with a little knife skills. So get your knife honed for that edge to come back. And I have a pepper that I took some of the meat off of, but we're going to continue to do that on this one. And once you have your little pepper cheeks, you're going to take all the white pith out so that all it is red or green or yellow or orange. And then we're going to julienne these peppers, just like that. Next up is our onion. There's a stalk end and a root end. We're going to take the stalk end off so we have a nice flat surface. Put the flat surface against the board. Pinch the onion, and with your knife under your pinch, cut down and through. Peel your onion. And then we're going to slice. Now you're going to use a bear claw, and that is the non-dominant hand. You're going to pinch with your thumb and your pinky, and the 3 fingers left are going to curl on top of the onion. Your bad finger is going to extend the most, so that's going to be the guide. Every time your knife goes forward, your fingers go back. And that's a slice. Now eventually you're going to run out of real estate, so tip your onion so that the root end is facing the ceiling. Go through it once, twice, maybe 3 more times. Bring the onion back to its original position, cut a couple more times, and you're left with this little nub for compost. Now our mise en place for the peppers and onions consists of olive oil, beer, salt, Italian seasoning, the peppers and onions, and a homemade marinara, which you can use jarred or not at all. I baked the sausages after I docked them, remember, and we're going to dry them off so that they're all the grease is on the towel, and we're going to start with a nice dry sausage. Get your pan hot, add your oil, and we're going to fry up these sausages even more. We're going to get them a deep golden brown in the pan. We're also looking to get their flavor into the oil so that it permeates the veg when we start to saute them. After about 6 to 8 minutes, you have deeply golden brown sausages. And take them and put them aside. And to that lovely oil, you're going to add your veg. You're going to add the onions and the peppers and give it all a good shake or toss. You're going to coat them in that oil. Then deglaze with your beer. Add your seasonings. Give it all a good mix. And pop the lid on. You're going to cook these for about 8 to 10 minutes or until they're soft. When they're soft, you're going to add the sausages back into the pan to warm up and let all of that residual liquid boil off. This will take about 5 minutes. Next, you're going to add the marinara if you're using it. And I also added a pinch of garlic. That also is elective, but always good. Give that all a good stir, and you're looking again for the liquid to be nearly gone. Ready to serve.
Sausage and peppers.
Now this dish, to me, is iconic boardwalk. Totally. Like I can hear the baskers, the barkers, you know, saying, come, take a chance on the wheel, take a chance, you know, with the dice or whatever. The fortune tellers luring you in, you know, and the smell of the peppers, the onions, the sausage in the air. Yeah, this is boardwalk food in my opinion. Now, I grew up at the Jersey Shore, so this to me speaks about festivals and carnivals and all of that encompassing loveliness of what they are. So let's taste. I did really like this recipe for a couple reasons. One, you know, it's still a little too cold because I'm a baby to go out and grill. And I didn't want to do this on my grill pan because I felt that there is a better way. And I found it, I think. The oven method on the sausage is lovely because they're going to puff up and they're going to stay round, which is what we're looking for this card, right? We want everything round. The other thing is the beer, yeah, adding that into the mix of the peppers and onions brings flavor. You know, hey, you're only using a quarter cup, so what else? You're going to drink the rest, right? It's a party. It's a game. The pretzel roll, that was totally me. I decided instead of a hoagie roll, I was going to do a pretzel roll. I never really got on board with these when they first came out and were all the rage, so I'm trying it now with this particular dish. And so far, I like the results. I did add the pretzel roll into the oven for the last, say, 8 minutes of the bake on the sausages, just to toast them up a little bit. You could also toast them in a pan, you know, however you want to do it. If we were grilling, they would go onto the grill. Just to get them lightly toasted on the inside so that they don't absorb too much of the grease. Next up, when you're making your peppers and onions, you're deglazing with the beer, you're adding the spices. You know, you could just add plain up oregano. You don't have to add Italian seasoning. What would really be nice is maybe a few more hot pepper flakes if you really, really like it spicy. I did use the spicy sausage, not sweet sausage, but you can interchange them. Doesn't matter. Now, all that said, let's take a bite. I'm like salivating over this one. Yeah, I don't know how to do this with one hand, but we're gonna try. I'm gonna do it this way. Well, I'll do it this way. All right, ready? Here we go. Oh. Oh yeah. So delightful. Sausage and peppers, you can't go wrong. And this is, you know, we're talking about when you get this card as the card of the day and you're planning your day around it and your meals around it. You want things that, you know, hey, believe me, I could make a dinner off of a caramel apple, but you got to have some protein. So I thought that this would be satiating and the main part of the meal, right? With everything else that we're doing. All right, one more bite because this is yummy. Oh, it's falling apart. Scrumptious. Our mise en place for the apples is light corn syrup, vanilla, butter, tart apples, packed brown sugar, sweetened condensed milk, and popsicle sticks. Now we're going to blanch the apples. It's just boiling water that I'm putting these into. And the reason why is because sometimes they have a waxy coating. And if you leave the waxy coating on, the caramel won't stick. So we want to blanch them for about 30 seconds. And then you're going to remove them. We're going to make sure they're really dry, so take a towel, dry them off. And at the same time, you're also checking to make sure there's no wax left. Now to a pot with a candy thermometer, you're going to add your butter, the brown sugar, the corn syrup, and the sweetened condensed milk. While your caramel is working, you're going to remove the stems from the apples. And I had 2 sticks. I was going to experiment with either one of them, but the first one I had was just a regular skewer, but I felt like it wouldn't accept the weight of the apple. So I think a popsicle stick is the best choice, but it's a little harder to get into the apples, so you got to really press down and hard and get all your might into that. Will and determination. It always gives you the best results. Back to our caramel. It's boiling now. At this point, you cannot take your attention away from it. You've got to keep stirring and keep stirring and keep stirring. You're looking for a temperature of 248 degrees. That is a softball stage. And if you don't have a thermometer, you could take a little bit of the caramel and put it in ice water, and it should turn into a firm ball when it hits the water. When it's done, you're going to add your vanilla. And you're going to really work quickly here. You're going to stir as best you can until it looks like caramel, and it will. Don't get discouraged. See how beautifully that comes together? A lot of arm might. So don't go to the gym the next day. You don't need to. And now we're going to dip those apples into the caramel. And you're going to turn them and turn the pot and just make sure that they're coated as much as you can get them. And you also have a parchment lined sheet tray ready to go, so these apples go right on that. Okay guys, this is I'm a little concerned about eating this on camera, but I know you'll forgive me if I make a mess. Look. Oh, my dentist is not gonna like this. All right, where to start? My goodness, how do you eat these? Like walking with a beer in one hand and one of these in another? I don't know. We do it though, don't we? All right. I cheated. I cut it. Let's try. I love the tart apple with the candy shell. The sweet, but you get the apple first, which is tart. Really delicious. Really nice. The hardest thing about making these is stirring the caramel after it gets just about to the temperature that you want to take it off heat. It gets really thick. But persevere. You can do it. It's worth it. Also, all the all the caramel that was left. I made them into like caramel chews. So you could do that if you have nuts and you want to put them on while they're still warm. But that's what you do with the excess caramel. Don't let it go to waste. It's good stuff. So when the wheel comes up in a reading, it usually means that you need to start putting all the pieces together. You may be constantly in a state of circling and circling and circling and not knowing when or how to get off. To get off the wheel, to get off the cyclical aspects of anything that's keeping you stuck. So the wheel is a good reminder that we need to go back to everything that we already consciously and subconsciously know. Dig back into all of that hidden knowledge. Go back to what the Empress taught about everything in Earth and how things have a cycle of birth with the seed and life with the nature around you and death with the wintering of the plants and the animals and the hibernation. It's all a cycle, it's all a wheel, it's all a game. Those that procrastinate and can't get off the wheel during summer and just play and play and play don't last the winter. They didn't take the time and the structure to build, like the Emperor would tell you, putting away for the winter so that you can last the frost and the season and all the hardships that go with it. And that's not just talking about winter as a season, it's talking about our lives too. Then we go further back to what the High Priestess taught us of having a veil of knowledge, that in front of the veil is life and our mundane world, and behind the veil is the esoteric, or our higher self. And connecting with our higher self, passing through the veil in order to get by in the life that we lead is so necessary. The Magician, all the way back to number 1, which this card actually corresponds with, being 10. 1 plus 0 equals 1, so that would bring us all the way back to the Magician. And the Magician was all about alchemy, taking nothingness and bringing it into something that's whole, something that is tangible. It's so many things in life. I mean, the first thing that comes up to me is entrepreneurship. Many of us are thinking, if I could just turn that into a business. They have the idea, but how do I do it? Well, you're taking the first step in the Fool's Journey. So, the number 10, the Wheel of Fortune. It's a card with all the keys. It's a card that brings us back to all the cards before it so that we can bring them into a new plane of understanding. Now that we're older, wiser, have taken time to spend with each of the cards prior to this one, we now can encompass the meaning of all the keys so much better. The Wheel of Fortune is also almost the halfway point through the Major Arcana. And whenever you get halfway to something, it's always a good thing to look back and see where you came from, to see what the journey has been so far so that you can start to recalibrate, restructure, course correct. And the higher realms are giving that luxury to us through this card. They're offering you to have a second look. Is this something, that journey that you're on, something that you really want to go forward with? Is it the key that holds from the constant circling? Is it the key that's going to unlock to get you off of the cycle, off of the circle? Is it the key to put your hand on the wheel so that you have a say versus the wheel always dictating what is in your life? These are all questions that come up with the wheel. Good questions, because they're going to make you think. So with that, your homework for next week, or your homework between this week and next week, is make sausage and peppers and contemplate on the wheel. Contemplate on all the keys it carries, how they fit into your life, what doors you want to ultimately unlock that would take you off of the wheel, off of the hamster wheel, and onto a path that may not be forged just yet. Maybe it's your own path. Maybe it has been forged millions and millions and millions of times, but now it's your turn to take the first step. Either way, the Wheel of Fortune is the card that's going to bring you back to understanding why we're here, what we need to do while we're here, and where we need to go. Have a great week.